Hello, and welcome to the Mothers of All Crime. This is a podcast where we deep dive into mothers involved in infamous crimes and scandals. I'm Monica, and this is Crystal.
This week on the Mother of All Crimes, we're going to be catching up with our friend Gypsy Rose Blanchard, talking about all her new exciting things since her release from prison.
Yeah, she really has taken social media by storm, hasn't she?
She really has. I was looking and she has 9.9 million followers on TikTok. That
Her
is
TikToks
a
are
ton.
crazy to me.
They are crazy.
Because
I watched so many yesterday.
oh, she's on my feed all of the time. And I feel like we need to preface this episode is a lot of the things that we have found and heard of came from social media, and a lot of opinions, a lot of guesses kind of version, just because she really has taken her own stance on things, and whoever's running her media team is doing a terrible job at controlling her because she just posts stuff that definitely is going to bite her in the butt.
She's posting like she has 30 followers, but she has 9.9 million followers. On Instagram, she has less than 500,000. If I'm looking at her real account right now, I think I am. But that seems not right because some of her fan accounts have that many. But I don't think she really has a management team that's been facilitating this since day one. I feel like she definitely has had people working for her. There's lawyers, there's people helping with her book. There's different people that are involved, but I don't think anyone's really guiding her in a good direction.
And
she's
kind
of in an unprecedented that's all. You can't control her probably also. But she's also in a very, very, very unique situation. It would be very hard to explain to anyone who did not already know who she was, why she's famous. Well, I guess you could explain why she's famous now, but why she's captured so much attention. I think it might be hard to know what kind of career path she should carve for herself after the life that she's had.
Yeah, and I guess you got to take in consideration that what we did as teenagers in social media, you kind of go on overdrive and you feel that you need to post about everything. Like, remember when Facebook started getting big? It was like, I ate grapes. Like, and nobody cared, but we felt the need to post it. She's doing that same thing because she never had any access to that growing up. Obviously, then she went to prison. So she's really behaving like a teenager with a lot of it, I feel.
She comes across extremely immature, which is understandable because she was infantilized her whole life and treated like she was. Should we just explain quickly for people who maybe are listening who don't know who she is? I'm not sure that's even representing one singular person, but just
sure,
for
give
context.
Me a quick recap. Give me a quick,
just for context,
30-second recap of who she is. Because if you haven't heard of her, you're living under a rock. But that's okay.
A rock. A rock.
We do have a full episode. Go listen to it. But give us a snippet.
So Gypsy Rose Blanchard was raised by her mother, Dee Dee, and the world believed that she was a very medically complex, very medically fragile child who had cancer, who needed a wheelchair because of her muscular dystrophy. She was very, very sick. They got a lot of benefits for that, a lot of financial benefits, a house donated, things like that. Eventually, Dee Dee is found dead after a series of bizarre Facebook posts on their mutual Facebook. And Gypsy ends up getting arrested along with her boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn, for the murder of Dee Dee Blanchard. They had mailed a knife from the crime scene to themselves. They had taken many videos of each other talking. It was like completely clear that they did it. The motive was also clear because Gypsy left her wheelchair at home, did not need it, wasn't actually sick. So there was a documentary that came out, Mommy, Deadest, and Dearest. It's very, very good, and it's very compelling. And I think the world was really mostly on Gypsy's side, thinking that this was a justifiable homicide. The only thing that people don't really love is that she compelled her boyfriend to do the actual murder, and he has some possible intellectual, social issues, and maybe that wasn't really fair. And he's serving a life sentence, where Gypsy got out on December 28th, 2023, after doing 8.5 years. So, in a sum up.
Beautiful. Well done.
So now she's out.
And she's out, and she was married. So she was a hot ticket in prison. She was dating. She was engaged at one point to Ken. She broke up with Ken. Then she got married to Ryan Anderson, who, when she was released from prison, was married. They were very public, and from my understanding, that was her parole. It was either her parents' house or the house with him. Those were the places that she was able to live because they were married.
Yeah, I watched a bunch of interviews that she did called the Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. That's when she was right before she was going to get released, where she was already married to Ryan and they were making plans for parole. And she essentially said that they got married because she wanted to live with him after she got released, and you can only be released to a family member.
Mm-hmm.
Which I get, but her family and me were screaming at her saying, just move in with your parents, just move in with them. And then if you want to marry him in 6 months, you can, but it's not wise to do this. And I think that Gypsy knew she was going to be famous when she left prison, but I don't think she realized the scale of it. I don't think she had a real grasp on what social media is like now and how that can be monetized and how you can truly, truly stay famous on social media. So
Sure.
I think that I don't know if she would have married him if she really realized the money that was going to come at her, because I'm worried about the money she's making right now and if Ryan's entitled to that or half of that.
I think that's part of it, but I think a lot of it came from don't marry someone you've never actually spent time with outside was the bigger concern, where they saw
that's a big concern.
She was very isolated, very controlled environment, and she's now exiting the world to a man that only knew her inside prison, so she was going to have to adjust. And on the other side, you don't know where you're going. You don't know what he's like after he goes through the checks and balances of the prison system.
Yeah, that's true. And they'd only met, their wedding day was the 7th time they had met in real life.
I guess that's also valid, where it's not like it was an easy trip to get in and out of prisons. How often are you really going to be seeing someone too?
I mean, I wouldn't see her at all probably, but I wasn't going to marry her. So I mean, Ryan, we could talk about for a little bit. He looks a lot like her mom. And that caused a lot of attention. They have very similar faces. They remind me of each other. Kind of gives me the ick a little bit. People did not have very nice things to say about Ryan. Yeah. People were very mean. And Gypsy really went to bat for him, defending him initially. And she had some very famous posts where she was saying that his D is fire and things of that nature. And it seemed like she was into him initially when she got out.
I'd agree with that. And I think it was also a defense. She wants to paint this picture that she's coming out and her life is going to be great and amazing because she's on her own. She doesn't have her mom suppressing her. It's a whole different avenue. And then someone starts attacking. She went on kind of a defense where these are my decisions and I'm going to stand up for what I'm deciding to do, regardless if it's correct or not.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, she'd kind of earned the right to make her own decisions in her estimation.
So obviously they got out. She was with him for about 3 months and was a little turbulent. And then they broke up and she left him, and
Right.
at first seemed like she was just moving out to truly find herself and move back in with her parents and all of that, and then mysteriously got seen with her ex-fiance.
Yeah, it's funny how that happened, you know? So I think the timeline here is crucial. So she got out of prison in December 2023. So very recent as we sit here in July talking about it. And by mid-March 2024, she had let people know that they were breaking up, that they are getting divorced in mid-March 2024. And within a couple of days, she had been spotted with Ken, who was her ex-fiance and had come up multiple times in the show that I had watched, The Prison Confessions. They were always fighting about Ken because Ken was always trying to be in contact with her. So it doesn't surprise me that he was still contacting her after she got out. And they instantly got back together. They must have, because she's recently announced that she's 11 weeks pregnant. So
I don't think it was just him, though. There's no way that he was the only one trying to contact her.
Oh, definitely not. I agree with that. Because it was all the guys that were writing her when she was in prison times a million. Because it's all the guys that will want to have her even more now that they have access to her and she's more famous and more successful, quote, quote. So I think that she was loving the attention and she was probably making some rounds. I don't know if she was already back with Ken, though, when she was leaving Ryan. That's also possible.
I'm pretty sure that she was, because Ryan has kept pretty quiet about a lot of this, but recently has started putting out little pieces here and there that she was talking to Ken while they were still together, and that was what some of the fights were related to. She was claiming that they were just friends and he's supportive, and Ryan's like, absolutely not just friends. I see the writing on the walls here. So I don't blame him for that. Like, it's a whole different level, kind of knowing her personality. I'm sure he already was kind of uncomfortable, but the fact of how quickly it went from one to the other, she had to have had that already set up. And Ryan's now making posts that she's still communicating with Ryan, saying things like, I miss you, I care about you, while with Ken. So it seems like she wants to keep all of her options open, have her cake and eat it too kind of vibes. And the baby's going to be an interesting twist.
I'm terrified about her with a baby, with a child, with a teenager. All of those things are very scary. But with the way that their breakup worked out and the timeline that she's providing for us, like, my mind immediately goes to, when would that baby have been conceived? And so I whipped out my handy dandy due date calculator that I always have with me because I work in obstetrics.
I was going to say.
She's saying she hasn't. So of course I had to look into it. So I have done the math. Hold on, let me pull that up right now. So she's saying the baby is due in January 2025. If that's the case, which is based on nothing other than her word, and she is a well-known liar and you can't rely on anything, but we're just going to go with it that January 2025. Obviously, there are many days in January, but I went with the earliest day in January. And if she is due January 1st, 2025, the most probable conception dates are between April 8th and April 12th. So it's possible that she was already broken up with Ryan, but I think it's very strategic to say it that way, because if this baby is born in December or November, you can say it's a little premature, but that obviously it could be a full-term baby that's premature, quote, quote. So
Sure.
because if it had been off if her real due date is December 15th, then Ryan's probably the dad. And if
Yeah, because
it's January 1st, it's probably Ken.
Yeah, she made the announcement on July 9th that she was 11 weeks pregnant. And if you go back 11 weeks from that, that brings you to April 23rd. Yeah. And she broke
Yeah, but that's not the conception date.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just saying, like, give the non-baby people other number.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because, what is it, 3 months? She's been broken up with her husband for 3 months. She's been with Ken for 3 months and 11 weeks pregnant. That's right on that border. It's and now people are pushing back, and she's saying that her and Ryan didn't have sex in the month of March, so it couldn't be his baby. And then, like, a couple other videos ago, she said they did. So I just can't keep up.
Yeah. I also wonder, though, if maybe her timeline is... I don't know if there was a lot of back and forth with her and Ryan. And to your point, there could have been other people in the mix, too. Like, we're assuming it's the two of them. Mm-hmm. But it could have been multiple other parties. But she did get a nose job and a lot of dental work in April, which I would have thought they would have tested her for pregnancy before anesthesia, before serious dental work, which I'm sure involved x-rays. But by her timeline, maybe she wasn't pregnant yet, or maybe it was just extremely early pregnancy and it wouldn't have been detectable.
But can't you have those procedures done? Can't you, like, sign a waiver, be like, no, I consent to it even though I am pregnant? Like, she still very well could have done those things while pregnant. Yeah. And just didn't want to announce it.
You could. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people do that.
Let's also remember, like, as a female, if you find out you're maybe 2-3 weeks pregnant, you're probably not making that announcement, particularly for someone in such a social spotlight, that things could go wrong.
For sure. I just would have thought maybe it wouldn't have been a good idea to undergo anesthesia in very early pregnancy. And that's not something a physician would have recommended to her. But of course, you may be able to just do it anyway. Like, that is totally possible. But I just think that kind of lends more credibility to that she didn't know, or it was so early that it wasn't detectable, just for the dental x-rays of it all. I don't know if they necessarily test you for pregnancy before anesthesia, but they do at the dentist. And she had very extensive work done.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And
her teeth look way better.
She looks great. Let's be honest. She looks great. Yeah. It's amazing what money can do, isn't it?
I don't hate the highlights either. I kind of like them.
They look good on her. It lightens up everything, I feel. Makes her a little bit more approachable feeling. And she's been very excited about this pregnancy. She is very excited, saying that Ken is the father. That is her claim. And she kind of reiterates that Ken was her first love, and she's known that since the beginning, and it's a more mature love than Ryan, and she didn't know that she needed to pursue it until her marriage was, quote, over, which, interesting, considering in the next breath she's also making statements that they have remained friends and let their friendship bloom and blah, blah, blah. Which,
yeah,
I'd say the same thing if I was hooking up with my ex-fiancé while married. Like, come on.
Definitely. And she's married to someone else, pregnant by her ex-fiancé right now. So she kind of has to make the story sound a little better, because saying it like that doesn't sound very good. It sounds a bit trashy. Sounds like poor decisions have been made.
So let's talk about that, though. So she legally is not divorced. She is considered separated, but she is legally married. There is a separation process, but like you said, she is impregnated by her claims a second man who is not her husband. That's going to cause some complications for her, particularly since it's so public. And so let's see. All right. So Louisiana as a state has some really, every state is different when it comes to paternity laws. And Louisiana looks at it, whoever is your legal husband at the time, it, for those who are married, is presumed to be the father and must be placed on the birth certificate, regardless of what she's saying. There is ways around that because there's to prove biological father and things like that. But the initial response, regardless of her sitting there, they're not going to take her word for it. She can't just say, this is the father. Like she was, if she was unmarried, none of this would be a concern. But legally, Ryan's, as a first glance, is going on that birth certificate.
So is that even true if they do DNA testing while she's pregnant?
So there's a couple options. So obviously, if they look at the time of conception, there we go. If the baby was conceived while married or less than 300 days after the date of birth, the husband/ex-husband gets presumed, puts directly on. In order to negate that, there has to be a third-party acknowledgement of paternity. The only ways to do that is you got to get a DNA test for paternity that shows 99.9% of paternity possibility. So basically guaranteeing this is the father. From there, you have to have two witnesses that notarize they agree with the statement, and the mother, the husband/ex-husband, and the biological father all need to sign a document agreeing to the DNA test and agreeing with the results. And then along with that, the biological father can then be removed. The husband can be removed and the biological father can be placed onto the birth certificate. So Ryan, if he wants to, could also make this very murky for her.
Wow. So if he won't sign it, then what would happen?
So if he chooses to A, not agree to the paternity test, or B, just flat out doesn't sign it saying, I agree to the results, his name is staying on that birth certificate, and that will be his legal child, regardless of DNA.
Wow.
Because in the state of Louisiana, it's presumed that the child is of the husband, which could go a bunch of ways. So if Brian's one of those people who wants to build a family, because they talked about it a lot and a lot of public things, that he wants kids and a family, and if he doesn't also trust her, Gypsy's family has a history of altering medical documents. So there could be that question of, well, did you do this too?
Crystal, that is such a good point. I didn't even think about that. I would definitely want my own independent DNA test of that child after it's born in this situation, because you're so right. I wouldn't even believe any kind of testing that she provided for me. I would have to take that kid myself and swab its mouth and test it. That's wild.
And I would do that for both, regardless of result. Because if one result says it's Ken's baby, if I was Ryan, I would say, well, I want it double tested just to make sure it's not mine, because I do want kids and whatever. But the other side, to say it is considered Ken's baby, I would want to double check that because, if it's not Ken's baby, I want to double check because now I'm on the hook for child support, custody, inheritance, what else? Everything. So she could also doctor it saying, oh, you know what? The timing was, it is Ryan's baby, but Ken's going to support me, because she wants Ryan paying for everything and on the hook, because Ken is not exactly a man of means. So
Is Ryan
regardless
a
of
man of means though?
results,
Because
neither is.
Ryan's
But
a
if you
teacher.
have,
So,
yeah, and
yeah.
he lives a very humble life. But if you have one man who's funding your lifestyle and another man funding your baby, makes it a lot easier to live.
That's so That's true. Although she doesn't really need to do any of it. I mean, she was just on the Kardashians, for goodness sake, which aired the day after she announced that she was pregnant, which is crazy timing.
I loved
But
that. She gave
it's just,
she had respect for Kim Kardashian. She's like, my life's been really hard. You don't understand scandal. And Kim's just sitting there like, excuse me.
yeah.
The
I mean, she
composure
doesn't
of
understand all of it,
the
but she
composure of
understands
Kim
scandal. Like,
Kardashian.
that's her whole
Like,
thing.
right? That's her. I gotta give
Yeah.
her. I have a love-hate relationship with the Kardashians, but I gotta give Kim. She is the queen of composure. You could say anything to her, and she just, yeah, sure, sounds great.
Yeah. I mean, she always looks kind of just like super neutral all the time. Like, her eyes always look like she's paying attention, but there's no emotion in them. And there's no emotion on her face. I don't know if that's just like Botox or if it's a practiced sense of calm or what it is, but she's always just baseline, I feel like.
Yeah,
And
it's strategic.
even when she's really upset, she's still very like, she reminds me a little bit of Macy Bookout from Teen Mom, who no matter what's going on, she's still talking in a monotone. It's like, I guess the composure is good, but it's very different than how other people act on reality TV.
Yeah.
And I think that the compilation of the Kardashians and the Blanchards is a little strange. Interested to see what happens with that, though, because their first episode, I don't know if she comes back and is on future episodes. She's only been on one so far.
I am guessing she's probably not.
Sister.
Because it was one of those,
Probably
like,
not.
the Kardashians definitely do whatever is it, and she is very controversial. Trendy. Yeah. And
yeah, she's very
Momager
trendy.
is gonna jump on that for a quick minute, but it's not exactly those types of lives that intertwine. The Kardashians have a very specific image, and Gypsy is so far, like, she is, I love her, but she's a little, no, not a little, she's trashy. And the Kardashians make bad decisions, but I wouldn't classify them as trashy. In comparison.
Wealthy. And when you're wealthy, like the Kardashians are, it's kind of different. Also, like, people look at it differently. I don't know if it's actually different, but they're very glamorous. And I would definitely not consider Gypsy to be glamorous. She's very trashy for sure. And she just got out of prison. Like, that's not, it's not glamorous, one could say. Yeah. So I think that they are, they're willing to dip their toes in the trend, but I agree. I don't think she's going to be a new sister that's going to be on every episode, unfortunately.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting watching the pregnancy kind of unfold, because people are starting to also challenge how she's going to have conversations about why grandma's not around. And obviously the kids growing up in a time of the internet, all they have to do is Google their mom or Google themselves, because she's going to make that name public. Yeah. And all of this is going to come up. How do you explain to your child you are responsible, or not responsible apparently, but connected to the planning of your own mother's murder? What a conversation.
Yeah. I saw an interview where she kind of danced around that, and she was like, well, when they're older, Ken and I will sit them down and we'll explain what happened. And
it's going to be a really hard conversation. It's what she kept repeating during, I know exactly what interview you're talking about. Yeah, just, it's a really hard conversation.
But they're going to grow up knowing that, because it's such a big part of the story.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's, yeah. What do you think they're going to name it?
I don't know. Part of me thinks it's going to be something stupid. Like, and then other parts of me feel like it's, right? It's going to be something ridiculous. Or it's going to be something like related to her mom and be like, this is my tribute.
Oh,
Can't you see it though?
oh my God. It's going to be like Claude or something. Like if they have a boy, they'll name it Claude instead of Claudine, which
Yeah.
is
It's going to be
sick. I don't know. She may name it.
cringy.
It's
Do you
going to
have
be
a
after like
guess?
some anime thing. I feel like it's going to
Mm.
be like, I have no idea. I was thinking Bubbles, but I think that maybe it's going to be something a little bit more.
Maybe it'll be a middle name. Claudia
Yeah.
Bubbles.
I'll,
She sounds like a Powerpuff
oh my God,
Girl.
that's beautiful. I wouldn't be surprised if they named it after someone in the family, like maybe after her stepmom who's like stepped
Mm.
up for her, or, I mean, Christy, though, is kind of a weird name for a baby. I'm not sure. I don't
Yeah,
think I'm going to like it, though, whatever it is. I
probably
don't think
not.
so.
And
I really
I
don't think so.
think my big concern is watching interviews that she's done with other people, specifically Ryan and Ken. You see behaviors that her mom did to her that she is now doing to other people. Like the arm
Yeah.
grab to get people to stop talking, or the looks, or the manipulation just from like screen clips that I've seen with her like behind the scenes on the Love After the Lockup thing. I haven't watched it, but I've seen clips. And it's
Yeah.
concerning because it's very manipulative. It's very repetitive from her mom. But then she does interviews and people are like, well, how are you going to raise your kids? What kind of parent do you think you're going to be? And her response was, I have learned what not to do. I have no concerns about my parenting when it comes to that. That was her answer of what kind of mom do you think you're going to be? I have concerns for you. I
Ugh.
have concerns about how I would be as a parent, let alone her.
I mean, I think it's normal to have concerns about how you're going to be as a parent. If you don't have any concerns, I think that's very alarming because that's
Mm-hmm.
like an overinflated ego talking. Like everyone struggles with, especially a newborn baby is going to be difficult. So I
Yeah.
think you're right. That's like weird to say. And I think that she really, really needs intensive therapy. And I don't think that her getting out and immediately jumping into this weird social media life that she has was good for her. I understand why she did it from a wanting attention perspective and also a financial perspective. I hope
Mm-hmm.
she's raking it in on TikTok. She should be. Um, she has a ton of engagement. I'm sure that she's making money off that.
Oh
But
yeah.
and I
She's
don't know
admitted that
and I
she
don't know if
has.
but I don't know if that would have been there for her if she had taken a year to get herself together before doing all of the interviews and all of the internet stuff that she's been doing. I don't know if this crowd would have still cared, possibly, but I understood why she did it. I think it's been very toxic for her. I don't think that the solution when you're getting divorced is to just immediately get a new boyfriend. That doesn't seem very healthy. I read an article where it's someone interviewing Christy, her stepmother,
Mm-hmm.
saying that she's the one that encouraged Gypsy and Ken to get back together while she was
I
breaking up
saw
with
that.
Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
But why is that your advice? I don't think that's good advice at all. I think she needed some time to be single. I think she needed some time to really work on herself. She really needs a ton of help. She went through an extremely traumatic childhood, and then being in prison is very traumatic in itself. She's had her whole
I
life stolen from her.
Oh yeah. I don't know how much it was advice as much as her covering because Gypsy took a lot of heat for this. Not necessarily the going back to an ex thing, but more of the time difference. She literally went from one to the other.
Mm,
And
yeah.
I have noticed that Christy, her stepmom, definitely has, like you said, she stepped up and kind of become defensive and protective of Gypsy. And I wonder if this was an after fact of her saying, because I think the quote was like, I'll take the heat or something similar, where
Yeah,
people
I'm
started
looking
going
at it
after
right now. I could
Gypsy.
read it if you want.
Yeah, go for it. What was
Yeah.
it? Was I close?
Okay. You were really close. So it does say heat at one point. So it says, "It's all my fault and I'll gladly take the blame. I wanted them back together," she tells people exclusively for the first time. "I made that happen. Put the heat on me. Gypsy will finally get her happily ever after. Ken's moving to New Orleans to be with her soon. He found a place. Gypsy's so excited. A love like theirs comes once in a lifetime."
Yeah. So I wonder if she may have like had a conversation with Gypsy of like, okay, well, if you do love him, maybe like talk, like explore that. And Gypsy like jumped in feet first, and in as a like protective mother, she stepped in and was like, you know what, it's my fault, blame me. Because I think a lot of instinct is
Mm,
for if your kid is getting harassed about it, something, well, you know what, give it to me. I'll take some of it. It was my fault, blame me. Get some of the heat off of her. And
oh, I hope that's what it was. That would be so much better. Because
because
that
also
just makes me
let's
think that Christy is
look at
like
her
really
options. Like
nice.
as a convicted felon, regardless of her option was social media. It's not easy to get hired once
Yeah.
you're out of prison. And I
Yeah.
don't know, this was her option, as being something that is also lucrative. And in
Oh,
Christie's
absolutely. She had
defense,
to do it.
yeah, at
This is
the
a $1 million
time,
opportunity.
he's living in Texas, I think, wasn't he? He wasn't in Louisiana. I think it was Texas, which,
Yeah, definitely
you
a
know
different
what?
state.
That's a far enough distance. She can't go move with him. She can't live with him. You know what, baby? You go ahead. You go date the man that lives ridiculously far away. You're not going to see him all the time. Like, she probably didn't think anything of it. Like, sure, date the man that lives 8 hours away. Sounds great. You can't go over there anyway. Like, she probably
Yeah.
thought that was
So
the safe
maybe she
bet.
just, yeah, like either maybe she didn't really seriously mean it, or she thought that that would be a slow thing, if anything, because he lives so far away, which
Yeah,
are both like maybe Ken would be a good person to talk to after Gypsy's called you for the 20th time today. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because I'm sure while she was breaking up with Ryan, she was extra needy, and that's understandable. And
sure.
she was talking to Ken the entire time, and I think he was definitely a factor in why she was breaking up with Ryan anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised if Christy was like, if you're going to leave your husband for him, you might as well date him.
Right.
And that
Yeah,
kind of makes sense.
yeah.
It's
No,
not
I
the worst
agree.
advice, I guess.
And when I originally saw this on TikTok and I had to look it up to double check because we know how people go on TikTok. But turns out it's true.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
so Gypsy
Everything on TikTok is
can't.
true. I don't know why you'd say that.
I know. I don't know why I question things. Um,
Yeah, no, it's
but
all real.
she obviously still married, so she can't just live with anybody. And even though, quote, father of her baby is moving to a new state, will have to get a new job, found a place to live in by himself because he can't move into the parents' house. Her parole doesn't allow
Hmm.
her to move outside of this one location. And for their baby, assuming it's his and assuming it all gets proven and blah, 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 are going to have to go
Hmm.
back and forth between wherever dad's living and Gypsy's living for I think like a year or two of this kid's life is just going to be playing
Ugh.
back and forth because she can't stay there. She can go visit, but she can't stay there. She has to go back to her house.
So I
And
think the issue that she's, yeah, you,
I was just gonna say, I don't think even if they got married, that would change. I think that her legal address is going to have to be her stepmom's house during parole because you can only do that so many times before the court's like, no, you're not moving 900 times. Like, this is ridiculous.
yeah. I mean, they probably could try to like file something, appeal it. It would take time, even, but they would definitely only be able to do that after they got married, which means she needs to get divorced first, which she's not yet. So she has a lot of legal issues, but something else about her, isn't she on parole?
Yes,
Like, that's what she's on? Okay.
she's on
So I
parole.
think that she is probably, I bet there are already people making reports to her parole to the town that she lives in, making CPS, like not CPS reports, but that will be coming. People are going to be calling about everything that she
Hmm.
does. So if she's staying over at Ken's house for a week, everybody that's watching her TikToks, watching her every move on social media is going to be reporting her. Like, I would not be surprised if she got violated for violating her parole because of her living situation.
Yeah. So let's go down the marriage and living situation road then, right? So going back to her marriage, originally because they had no kids, that separation is only 108 like 180 days separated, then they can get divorced, no big deal. Pretty painless process. But people who share kids have to be separated for an entire year before they can start the divorce legal process. But
Oh, they're kind of in
now
between.
here's a plot twist. Louisiana will not allow you to get divorced while pregnant. So they're going to have
I
to
did not
wait
see that.
for the
Wow.
baby to be born, then do the 360 if I'm understanding it correctly, and I might not be, so don't shoot me. But if I understand it, they have to wait till the baby's born. So there's your 9-ish months. Then do their legal separation, which is 365. And then your divorce starts, which could take anywhere between a couple weeks to a couple years, depending on how much legality it has to go through.
Wow. So, yeah, I think that. Do you think that that would change, though, when the baby's born and it's proved that it's not Ryan's? Do you think that they would switch back to being 180 days separation because they wouldn't have a kid together?
That's an interesting thing. I am not sure because at that point you have the gray. Because how
Mm-hmm.
long would it take you? How long does it take to prove paternity? I'm assuming that's a couple weeks, right? Or is it faster than that?
It probably like 7 to 10 business days, something like that.
Oh, okay. So it's not quite too long. Um,
It's not. I feel like you should be able to get divorced if you're pregnant with someone else's kid. Seems like a really good reason, actually.
right. Because I mean, then I guess you could also, can't you do paternity tests before they're born too? I know it's more risky, but can't you do that?
Yeah. You yeah, you can.
So,
So,
do you
I
think that's
mean,
something
she
she would
should do
do?
that. I don't know. She's just adamantly saying that it's definitely Ken's and there's no way it could be anyone else's. I don't know if she feels like she's above doing a paternity test. I do think she will have to do one at some point though, because I think that if Ryan knows he's not the father, which he may know because maybe they weren't having sex for like 2 months or something before they broke up, and if that's the case, he probably knows that that's not his kid. So he may want the paternity test to prove it, to like get his name removed so he's not on the hook for child support, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think unless Ryan compels her to take it, though, I don't think she'll take it because I do think there's a possibility it could be anybody's.
Yeah, and I I think he's gonna make her take it just because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
A, you would want to know, but B, he's on the hook for 18 plus years, if not. And I wouldn't want to, if I don't want to deal with my ex for 18 years if I don't have to, particularly one that seems a little, ooh, like,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not even, it's probably, I don't think it's Ryan's kid. So I don't think he's going to want to be paying for this child.
but there's
I
a
think
little part of me
extremely
that thinks it is
unlikely.
Ryan's kid. Because, or at least
Ooh.
he thinks that there's a possibility. Because otherwise, this man would have come out right already and been like, not my kid. He hasn't done that. I
Mm,
think he thinks that there's a possibility it
that's
is
true.
his kid. Because looking
Well, that's
at,
true. And I think she might be lying about the due date. I think she might be lying.
Listen, when has she ever told the truth about pretty much anything?
Um, I don't know. None of it's verified.
Right. And the timing is a little gray and icky. And Ryan is starting to kind of come out of the woodwork and has started countering with lives and videos. I think he would have said something because they fought about the dog. Ryan went to bat about the dog. Like, nope, you said this. I have the receipts, and like showed text messages. I think if he really didn't think this was his baby, he would have said something by now.
That's true. I think he's going to continue to get more and more. He'll give more and more details as this pregnancy goes by. Because if he thinks it's his kid and she's playing house with Ken, he's going to be distraught about that. So that'll probably be a meltdown. Because he already seems to be extremely wacky in his TikToks and like kind of emotionally unstable, maybe. And I think that that's going to not get better during the pregnancy. It'll be interesting to see how the Ken and Gypsy of it all plays out. I keep seeing all of these things about him possibly being gay, but I don't really want to speculate on that because I feel like if he says he's not gay, then I believe that. But there are a lot of rumors.
See,
So,
I hadn't seen
I don't know if they're going to really work out
much
either.
about the gay.
I've only seen it on TikTok, so I don't know. The gay of it all.
The gay of it. Can we like send an undercover gay who can like feel it out? Like,
because, maybe I'll try to catfish him.
Well, we had that whole incident
like a
where
super hot guy.
Another TikToker claimed Ken was messaging her. Do you remember this?
I do remember that. I think there was multiple allegations of him cheating though already.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, and one of them actually Gypsy got. She like addressed publicly because so many people had started bringing it up, and it's totally a it's one of those, you know, you on TikTok you can like add music to it. They've made it into like a meme and a dance thing because she said something about my man wouldn't touch you with a 10-foot pole, and then that she has a Chad. Yeah, it's like a dance now.
Yeah, I've seen so many different versions of that. It's so funny.
Also, I feel old because I had to look up what a Chad was, so that was fun.
It's like a Stacy, right? It's like Stacy's and Chad's.
Like literally, I was like, his name is
good-looking guys.
Who the hell is Chad?
I actually feel like Ken also works for what she was trying to say.
Right.
Like, I have a Ken, you know, like Ken and Barbie. Similar thing. Like, think. Ken is a Chad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, that was fun. Loved that.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard should be Barbie and then Barbie 2. That would be incredible. Well, I'm excited to see what she's going to do next. I feel like she has, like, unlimited options right now. Although the pregnancy, honestly, is going to kind of fuck it up for her, just to be honest. Like, she's not going to be on, like, Dancing with the Stars now. You know what I mean? Like, she's not going to be, she'll get a lot of publicity about the baby, though. But it's not really good attention at this point. It's pretty
think
negative.
Her and Ken are going to make it. Because if you looked at, I was watching some of her old lives, and the two of them went live from like separate locations, and they were like passive aggressive and fighting in a couple of them, and then like this baby announcement came and now they're fine again. I wonder if they were like basically on the edge of breaking up, found out she was pregnant, but have we actually confirmed she's pregnant? Has she proven it at all? I haven't seen anything that she's actually, other than a sonogram picture, which I could print out one of those.
I mean, I definitely could print out a bunch of those, but
I'll call you when I need to frame my pregnancy.
Did do a Doppler. She did do a Doppler test, like a Doppler little thing at home, like an online. She ordered a Doppler on Amazon probably, and did like a little check the heartbeat at home. So, I mean, unless she faked the sound, which would have been pretty elaborate, I'm inclined to believe that she's pregnant, but she's definitely not proved that she's 11 weeks pregnant.
Okay. Because I was like, I don't know. When it comes to medical stuff and her, I just don't trust her. I know a lot of it was her mom, and I get that,
Well,
but I
you
don't,
could fake the Doppler, I guess.
still
You know,
icky
if
to
you have the
me.
sound. Yeah. Yeah. I guess we'll see if a kid is born on. I'm just gonna place a bet now that it's born in late November, early December.
So, okay, whose baby do you want it to be, and why?
Oh, so
Let
my
me stir the
honest
pot.
opinion, my truth, which makes me a bad person probably, is that I hope it is like some random guy that she met on Tinder in the
Oh,
5 minutes between Ryan and Ken. That's who
phenomenal.
I want. Yeah. How about you?
Option C. Oh, what a twist. What do you think would happen? What do you think would happen with Ken and Ryan at that point? Do you think they'd stick around? Because it seems like she has both of them on the hook.
No.
One fully and one like secretly.
So I think they both think that they're the dad, and they're both hoping that they're the dad. And I think if Ken is the dad, they'll stay together for like 6 months maybe after the baby's born, something like that. 6 months, a year, something like that. And then if Ryan is the father, they may get back together. I'm less sure about that though.
Mm,
They probably would get back together, at least temporarily. Or he would try to get
maybe.
full custody.
Well, you'd have a leg to stand on.
I mean, he's a better candidate than her. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he creeps me out though, but he is definitely, I mean, he's got like a real job, like he has like a more stable life. He's not a felon.
He creeps me out
So
as
yeah.
it as the way of like I'm surprised he's had sex kind of like the creepy nerd. Not creepy as in like
Yeah.
I think he's gonna do
Mm-hmm.
anything. Just that
No.
uncomfortable like
But I think a person who sees the documentary about Gypsy and thinks she is so cute, I definitely want to meet her and date her. Um like definitely is weird. Like it's a red flag at a minimum. He literally was with a friend, and his friend wanted to write to Tiger King, and he was like, well, you write to Tiger King and I'll write to Gypsy Rose Blanchard. It's
which
like that is
I think
a
I'd rather
weird
talk to Tiger King.
celebrity crush.
I
RIP.
bet his letters were amazing. Honestly, what a journey. That's a journey I want to be on.
Yeah, we should definitely talk about Carol Baskin on a future episode.
Oh,
But
have we not talked about her yet?
I don't
She's a
think she
good
killed
one.
I don't think she killed anyone, just as a preface. I don't want to
Oh,
get the
we're
wrong
gonna
idea, but we
fight.
could explore it. Ooh, I would love that. All right, we're gonna have a debate, a throwdown.
Oh, I'm ready. All right, we'll plan that for another one. You guys can come back for it. But yeah,
Can't wait.
I guess to full circle back to my thought is I think it's Ryan's, and I think Gypsy thinks that because of her status and the the current clout that she has, I think that she hasn't looked into any of the legality of it and thinks the courts are just going to
Mm-hmm.
take her word for it because she wants to be with Ken and that's her current fixation. I think she had been also planning to get pregnant for a while and it didn't matter whose baby it was just going to be a baby. But she
Yeah,
had
I could see that.
previously had unprotected sex with Ryan and then took Plan B, which, so she didn't want it to be Ryan's, but I think the timing of it makes it available to possibly be Ken's, and I think she's gonna push it, push it, push it. Her brain, I think she believes it's Ken's, but I think it's Ryan's, and she's gonna try to convince everyone it's Ken's regardless, because that's who she wants the baby's dad to be.
I think she's gonna have a major meltdown if it's proven to be Ryan's. Like
And I
that's
can't
gonna really.
wait. Oh, it's gonna be awful for her.
I
But
think
it's
if it's
absolutely gonna happen.
I think as long as it's not Ryan's, Ken would be involved probably. Like if it was, maybe even if it's the Tinder guy, maybe Ken would still be involved a little bit.
I could
If
see.
it's
They'd be
Ken's
like,
baby,
hey, it
I
was
think
in
he's going to be
between. We
involved.
hadn't got back together yet. Like, yeah, I could see
Yeah.
her being able to manipulate that.
But I don't think he's going to be involved in 5 years though, or 10. You know, I think maybe the immediate he'll be involved. But I
Yeah.
think that if it's, yeah, I just also want to thank Gypsy for getting pregnant just for our podcast, because it
Right?
just makes her so much more relevant for us. Yeah. So that was really nice.
She's really just thinking about others.
So you want it to be Ryan and I want it to be Joe Schmo. Okay.
Yeah. I will say, I gotta give it to them. Their announcement pictures were really cute. I gotta give it to her.
They were cute.
They were
Yeah,
very
they
well
were
done.
cute.
They were very cute. I wish the baby the best. I might not be her biggest fan, but I want easy pregnancy, happy, healthy baby. Like,
For sure.
but I can't.
There's enough drama to go around.
And maybe this baby, regardless of daddy, like calms her down a little bit. Like maybe it puts her back into reality that it's not about you anymore. So maybe this is a good thing. I don't know. That was my positive
It's just a lot. Like in your first like 6 months out of prison, a lot has happened. 7 months out of prison. She has been through a lifetime of events already.
Yeah. And, I tried to have a positive spin. It didn't really work very well, but
well, maybe this will be, a great kid. I hope so. I hope everyone's happy and healthy. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to keep watching all these TikToks. I definitely will.
Till the next one. Yeah, she'll give us another update soon enough, and we'll circle back. We'll give everyone an update. But she's just the gift that keeps on giving, isn't she?
I know. It's all for the plot, and I'm fascinated.
All right. So, any last thoughts on Gypsy, Ryan, Ken, and Bubbles?
I don't think so. I'm good right now. I think I've said it all. How about you?
I think I have said it all as well. Ooh, final thought. What if, tell me if this is even possible, because I saw it on a Law & Order SVU episode once, so I don't know if it's true. What if she had twins?
Sounds real.
And obviously, what if she had twins and each man was the baby daddy of one? Can that happen? Can you have just a bunch of sperm in you at once?
Yes.
Oh, I would like to change my answer, and I want that to happen.
Oh my god, triplets with Joe Schmo.
With Joe Schmo, yep. New option. That's what I want to happen. I take it all back.
That is the perfect. That would be the perfect next thing to happen. The announcement that it's triplets.
So good. All right. Well, that was my last thought. There we go.
Have a good one.